Please join me in gassho. When you rejoice by yourself, you must think there are two. When you rejoice with another person, you must think there are three. That other person is without a doubt Shinran. Namanda butsu namanda butsu namanda butsu namanda butsu namanda butsu namanda butsu. Good morning, everyone. This is Yush Mukojima, Resident Minister of the Mountain View Buddhist Temple. I'm so grateful to Mutsumi Sensei, John Sensei, and the OCBC Sangha members for your kind invitation to speak at your Hō-onkō, the most important observance in the Jodo Shinshu tradition. But to be honest, I sincerely wanted to visit your temple and share this talk with their Sangha in person because my kids love Disneyland. Actually, when I served in San Diego for 8 years, we went there at least 2 times each year. So for my family, Disneyland is a special place full of memories and smiles. The last time we went there was in 2017 because it is a long drive from Mountain View, and unfortunately the pandemic also prevented us from visiting for a couple of years. For these reasons, my kids really miss seeing Mickey and Minnie Mouse. So I'll be grateful if next time you could invite me to your temple in person as your guest speaker. Okay? よろしくお願いします。Selfishly, we'd like to enjoy the beautiful atmosphere in Southern California, as well as the many fun rides at Disneyland after missing it for such a long time. Anyway, thank you very much for having me at your Hō-onkō service as your guest speaker today. It is my great honor to participate in remembrance of our founder, Shinran Shonin. This memorial brings together millions of people each year, not only in the US and Japan, but all over the world, who sincerely respect and appreciate Shinran's great guidance. Of course, you know, Shinran is Japanese. And while there are countless noteworthy figures in Japan's long history, to this day, there is no Japanese individual anywhere else in the world who has the respect of countless Nembutsu followers that Shinran does. So today, we pay homage to our great teacher, Shinran, for his lifelong guidance. Hō-onkō is a great opportunity to rejoice that we've encountered the Nembutsu teaching. It's a good chance to show our respect and gratitude for the great achievements of Shinran, who opened wide the Nembutsu path so that all of us can attain Buddhahood just as we are by the Nembutsu. Let's be grateful for the countless causes and conditions which allow us to encounter the Nembutsu teaching while being respectful of Shinran's uncommon efforts and wonderful guidance through his life of 90 years. Okay? As many of you know, Shinran died on January 16th in 1262 at age 90. The average of lifespan during this time period was about 35 years old. So Shinran lived almost 3 times longer than most Japanese of that era. But though he lived a longer life than most, his 90 years were a series of hardship and distress. Shinran parted from his parents in his childhood. He joined the monastery when he was just 9 years old. Although he studied hard and endured a more difficult kind of practice than anybody else, no matter how hard he tried, he was not able to find a way to achieve enlightenment on his own. The more he tried, the more his cravings distracted him. When he realized his limitations at age 29, he decided to leave Mount Hiei. After descending the mountain, he met Hō-onkō, the most sincere priest of the Pure Land Buddhism in Japan. With Hōnen's guidance, Shinran was led to the Nembutsu Way, which caused his birth in the Pure Land. It must have been a very exciting moment in his life. But soon afterwards, both Shinran and his teacher Hōnen were separated by force by the imperial court, which prohibited the Nembutsu practice. Shinran was then exiled to Echigo province and never met Hōnen again. In his later years, his own son, Zenran, spread the heresy in the Kanto region against Shinran's expectations and caused great confusion among the Nembutsu followers there. In order to correct Zenran's heresy, Shinran disowned his dearest son and spread the true Nembutsu teaching. This was when Shinran was 84. These were some of the many hardships Shinran endured. He experienced loneliness, despair, betrayal, sadness, and much more in his life of 90 years. He deeply understood the harshness of life because his experiences taught him that things didn't always turn out as he desired. However, as he overcame his difficulties, Shinran lived each day with strength. The reason why he was able to survive in this way was because he sincerely embraced Amida Buddha's primary vow of unconditional compassion, which will never abandon anybody, no matter what might happen in their lives. Shinran recited the Nembutsu until the moment of his death because he was deeply grateful for Amida Buddha's deep compassion. Amida Buddha's working throughout Shinran's life shows us the importance of embracing Amida Buddha's compassion as our spiritual support. Okay? So now I'd like to talk a little about how important it is to feel Amida Buddha's compassion as we go through life. Okay? Okay, now let me ask you a question. Do you know what this is? Dhamma school kids know, right? Yes, it is harokeri. This is my daughter's favorite harokeri stuffy. I borrowed it from her for my Dhamma talk today. She's very cute, isn't she? I'm guessing that many of you have some kind of harokeri merchandise at home. Dolls, toys, clothes, books, games, and so on. And even if you don't, surely your child or grandchild does, right? Harokeri is one of the most popular Japanese characters in the US. Do you know how old she is? She was born in 1974, so she is now 50 years old. Actually, this year, 2024, marks Harokeri's 50th anniversary because there are some limited edition products on sale this year. Hello Kitty fans all over the world may be so excited. I have known Hello Kitty since my childhood, and she was very popular in Japan in those days, especially among girls. When I came to the US for the first time, I was surprised to learn that she was also popular with Americans because, as I told you, she is a character created in Japan 5 decades ago. Whichever shopping mall I go to, there is always a store which carries Hello Kitty merchandise. Because of this, my daughter has a lot of Hello Kitty things. Of course, Hello Kitty is not only very cute, but she has unique face, which makes her different from other popular characters, such as Mickey Mouse, here, okay. Dave Millions, here, or Pokemon, Pikachu, and so on. Okay, here. But do you know what part of her face is unique? Yes, it is that Hello Kitty doesn't have a mouth. Have you ever seen her with a mouth? I've never seen it. That's interesting, isn't it? About 10 years ago, I was trying to write my Dharma talk for the temple newsletter. The deadline was just around the corner, but I didn't have any ideas. I was pretty stressed trying to decide what I would write about. So I stood up from my desk to stretch and looked around my room. At that time, my eyes happened to meet the eyes of my daughter's Hello Kitty doll. And interestingly, it seemed to me that she was worried about my deadline too. So she looked as if she felt all of my feelings of anxiety. Then I remembered a long time ago, a friend explained to me why Hello Kitty doesn't have a mouth. Because Hello Kitty has no mouth, her expression depends on the emotions of the person who is looking at her. So, when we are happy, she looks happy to us. When we feel sad, she looks sad to us. Whenever we look at Hello Kitty, it is as if her expression is a reflection of her own emotions. When we see her face, we feel that we are not alone. I've heard that this is the reason why Hello Kitty has been popular among countless people in many countries. That's interesting, isn't it? There is a beautiful poem which I'd like to share with you. It was written by Mrs. Kaneko, a poet who wrote many children's songs. When I am feeling sad, strangers don't know. When I am feeling sad, my friends all laugh. When I am feeling sad, Mom spoils me. When I am feeling sad, Buddha feels sad. That's a wonderful poem, isn't it? Don't you think that this poem expresses the attraction of Hello Kitty? Hello Kitty looks sad when we are feeling sad. There are countless popular characters we know and love. But most of them always smile radiantly, even when we are feeling sad. Of course, these happy characters look very cute and charming. But when we are feeling sad and lonely or having a hard time, they look as if they are smiling without any concern for us and are unaware of our feelings. On the other hand, Hello Kitty looks as if she deeply understands our feelings. In thinking about our daily lives, we may find that we have many friends who talk and engage with us when we are happy. But there are fewer friends who like to be with us when we are feeling sad or lonely or having a hard time. On deeper reflection, there is probably no one who will always help and support us or even be with us throughout our entire lives. No matter how much we rely on our parents, our siblings, our children, and so on, even our dearest family cannot be with us always because we have to be separated by death someday, right? Especially in the past few years, with so many hardships caused by the pandemic, many of us had to be away from our friends and loved ones and accept our quarantine self-isolation. It was really hard to meet this challenge. So the truth is, even a beloved family cannot always be with us. But Shinran teaches us that Amida Buddha knows all about us and always has each one of us in his warm embrace throughout our lives. So when we are happy, Buddha is also happy. When we are feeling lonely, Buddha is also lonely. When we are feeling sad, Buddha also feels sad and shoulders our sadness with us. When we truly feel Amida Buddha's mind, our mind will be healed in the truest sense of the word. Amida Buddha is often called the Buddha of compassion. Do you know how to say compassion in Japanese? I think many of you know. It is jihi, jihi, ji and he. You know it is, right? The word jihi has a deep meaning. The first character, ji, is called Maitri in Sanskrit, which is an ancient Indian language. Okay? Maitri means the highest friendship, highest friendship. So it could be interpreted as the Buddha's expression of encouragement to give pleasure and happiness to all people. Okay? And the second character, he, is called Karuna in Sanskrit. Okay? And its original meaning is the groan. It is the heart-rending sound that we cannot help but make when the burden of suffering and sadness weighs heavily on both mind and body. Okay? And the other meaning is that only a person who has groaned and grieved over life's suffering can truly understand the suffering in another person's mind and to sympathize with their suffering to make their mind heal. That's why to understand another's suffering is called karuna. Karuna. In this way, karuna means accepting others' sadness as one's sadness and accepting others' suffering as one's suffering. We'll only be able to be healed when we feel empathetic mind of karuna. I know there are some of you who think that it's important to have friends who always encourage people who are suffering and in distress to help them overcome their difficulties. Yes, it is important. But, however, it is sometimes better to cry with those who are suffering than to try to encourage them with a smile. Even if all we can do is cry with them quietly, it makes those who are suffering feel great relief because they know that they know that there are people who understand that they are suffering. They realize that they are not alone. In the opening meditation, I shared with you a saying in the record of Shinran's words. He says, when you rejoice by yourself, you must think there are two. When you rejoice with another person, you must think there are three. That other person is without a doubt Shinran. With these words, in his last moment, Shinran showed us that no matter what circumstances we are in, his heart and mind are always with us in the voice of our Nembutsu, Namu Amida Butsu. So I believe that when we are feeling sad, Shinran is always saying to each one of us things like, when you grieve by yourself, you must think there are two. When you grieve with another person, you must think there are three. That other person is without a doubt Shinran. When I consider his compassionate words, I always feel his influence embracing and holding each one of us warmly. Shinran continues to live in the voice of our Nembutsu, Namu Amida Butsu, no matter what our activity is, where we are, or what hour of the day it is, because he's been born in the Pure Land and become one with Amida Buddha. Anyway, once we comprehend the meaning of Maitri and Karuna, we should be grateful that Amida Buddha will always be with us and embrace each one of us with his unconditional compassion. When we become fully aware of his great compassion, don't you think Harokeri and Amida Buddha have something in common? I hope that you will realize that no matter what might happen in life, we'll be able to get over all the difficulties with the strength, joy, and gratitude, because Amida Buddha always gently embraces us, guides us, and never abandons us. Okay? So let's live our lives to the fullest each moment with the deepest feelings of gratitude for the spiritual guidance of Amida Buddha. Today, as we observe the Hō-onkō, or Shinran's memorial, I've talked about Amida Buddha's compassion, Jihi, by introducing Harokeri. If you love and enjoy Harokeri like my daughter does, I'd like to ask you to share this story with your family and friends. I hope they too will feel Amida Buddha's compassion and Shinran's loving guidance whenever they see Harokeri's face. We are not alone, okay? In closing, I thank you again for having me as your Hō-onkō guest speaker to share the Buddha Dharma with you. Today, as we press our palms together in this simple gesture of gassho, let's express our sincere respect and deep gratitude for Shinran's extraordinary efforts and sacrifices, for they have assured us that Nimbutsu teaching we practice today. Okay? Please remember, we are not alone. Please put your hands together in Gassho. When you rejoice by yourself, you must think there are two. When you rejoice with another person, you must think there are three. That other person is without a doubt Shinran. Namanda, Butsunamanda, 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 Namanda. Thank you everyone for your kind attention. Bye.